Before I get started, there's something I want to address. This video is going to be criticizing some parts of Patreon that I don't understand, or I don't agree with, or I think are just kind of shady. And in this video, I'm going to give some examples of channels, but I'm not going to name the channels. I'm not going to talk anything specific about the channels, but I am going to go into details of their Patreon. So you might be able to figure out who I'm talking about. But I want it to be clear that I'm not attacking any specific content creator on Patreon. This isn't a Dear Patreon video, because this is more of a discussion, and I don't know what to call it. As I'm recording this, I have no idea what I want to call this video. First off, because it's related in a lot of these criticisms, I think a lot of them can apply to this, even though they're kind of different. Kickstarter has been around since 2009. There's been a lot of controversy about different projects and about different cancellations and things getting too much money and you can't really tell what they did with the money, but it's persisted. It's still there. It's not going away. There's no signs of it going away. One of the things about Kickstarter that I don't particularly like or agree with or whatever is there's no real oversight about projects. They're very much just a middleman. They're a facilitator that lets people give money to people rather than just some company going, hey, give us money. Kickstarter doesn't have any liability. If you give a project $100 and they never give you anything, you might seek legal action against the company that ran the Kickstarter. You can't go to Kickstarter and say, hey, I gave them money and they didn't give me what I was promised. Kickstarter will just say, contact them. That's useless. They're the ones that aren't doing what they said they're going to do. Why would contacting them help at all? Patreon launched in May of 2013, just about 4 years ago now. Like Kickstarter, there's no real oversight. They're very much just a middleman for customers to give companies or groups or individuals money so that they can do whatever it is they want to do that they wouldn't be able to do otherwise, is the idea. But just like with Kickstarter, if you give someone on Patreon $100 and you just get nothing back, there's no liability. The main thing that I have a problem with Patreon is the lack of oversight and the lack of transparency. To me, it's kind of a mess. I have 3 examples of practices or Patreon pages that have maybe not shady, maybe not bad, maybe not deceitful, but it might be those things. It really is up to the interpretation of the people who give them money. But I'm going to go over those examples and then kind of round things out. The first example is a professor at a university who currently makes about $175,000 a year from the university, but also has a Patreon where he makes about $300,000 a year. And what does he do? What is his content? He puts his lectures on YouTube for people to see. Does he really need that money? It doesn't seem to me like he needs the money, but people are willing to give him the money. So that's something that is very small. But I wonder how many of the people that give him this $300,000 a year know that he already makes $175,000 a year. The second example, 5 guys that make podcasts and Let's Plays for YouTube. The 5 guys each take home 6-figure salaries, all 5 of them take home 6-figure salaries every year. And does that really sound right? It's like, well, there's people that are huge that make a ton of money. Like you think about PewDiePie, who makes $1 million or a couple million a year. That's different because it's just monetized videos on his YouTube channel. He's not asking for donations from people. So then you look at these 5 guys that do Let's Plays and podcasts. They make about $500,000 a year from their Patreon. Then, of course, they monetize their videos through Google AdSense on YouTube. Then they also have videos that are, ad reads during the video. Sometimes at the beginning, sometimes in the middle, depending on the video. They also have brand deals, so maybe it's like, oh, well, this video of Madden, was brought to you by EA. EA, provided a copy of the game, and, or it's sponsored by EA, that kind of thing. And then they also have merchandise that they sell and make money off that. So they do all of these things and then still get $500,000 a year from their Patreon. Why is it that there's YouTube channels that can survive without Patreon and sometimes even without merch? They just have their Google AdSense, or, they're part of a bigger network like Maker or something like that. So why is it that these 5 guys need Patreon? Obviously, I have no idea. Maybe they really do need it. But the fact that they each make 6 figures a year, that makes it seem like maybe they don't need Patreon. Seems off, right? It's like, why is it there's people... Imagine how many people support this group. Because they have thousands of supporters. Imagine how many of them make less than 6 figures a year, but are giving money to them so that they can make 6 figures a year. That seems a little weird. Imagine donating to Bill Gates, not to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, but just donating to Bill Gates. You see Bill Gates on the street asking for money. Maybe he's playing a harmonica. Are you going to give Bill Gates money? So then I have to wonder, maybe some of these people support them because they think they really need it to make this content. Maybe they give them money because they don't know that they're taking home 6 figures a year. Third example is a website that covers games, just mobile games, phone games. They make about $60,000 a year on Patreon, so it's not a ton of money, but it's still like a normal website. They still have advertising. You're just paying because they say they need money. Obviously, I have no idea with this how many people run the website. Like if it was one person, that's an all right salary for one person to run a website. But obviously they make more than the $60,000 because of advertising on the website. So that one's also really weird to me. Just imagine a website like Polygon or Kotaku having a Patreon. Because I mean, that's essentially what this website is. They do previews, they do reviews, they do coverage of like additional content coming to mobile games already out. They do game announcements, and then there's occasionally little tangentially related articles, just like there are on Polygon or Kotaku. But Polygon and Kotaku don't have Patreons because they have advertising, and they have, it's a business. Yeah, so that's weird to me. So now, I know what you're thinking, especially if you support a Patreon. Well, what about the rewards? Chris, you didn't talk about the rewards. First off, the professor. The rewards for him, I have it written down here, so I won't forget what the rewards are. There's a monthly Q&A for $5. You get to submit a question and see the monthly Q&A video. For $10, you get a free e-book or PDF copy of a book that he wrote. And also, you get access to an online writing program that he has, for feedback on if you want to be a writer. For $50, you get a poster. $100, you get a one-on-one Skype call for 30 minutes with the professor. These are all right rewards, in my opinion. There's some dumb rewards out there for some Patreons. What's odd to me about them is they seem way more like Kickstarter reward. If you supported them for $10 a month for a year, you get the ebook at the beginning, and then after that you just have access to the online writing program and be in the monthly Q&A, which you could do for $5. If you're paying $50 for every month for a year, you get the poster your first month, and then that's it. You don't get another poster. Like it specifically says, you get the poster one. And the same thing for the Skype call for $100. Pay the $100 one month, you get a 30-minute Skype call with him. You can never have another 30-minute Skype call with that guy. Those, I think, you could argue that they're worth it. For the website, if you're an app developer for iPhone or Android, I think it's both phones. I don't remember if it's one specific phone. If you're an app developer for phones, you can pay $1,000 to have your app featured on the website. That seems like something that would be handled at a business level and not through a Patreon, doesn't it? Why is that a Patreon thing? Especially since they have normal advertising on their website. So why use Patreon and then have to pay Patreon a fee and not just have them pay you directly the $1,000 to have your app featured? Why did I jump right to $1,000 reward? Well, because the rest of the rewards aren't really rewards. They have a message board on the website, and every other reward is just a little label under your name on the message board to let people know what level you support them on Patreon. You don't get any actual perks from it. It just before, my name would say massive score. Or no, the other way, massive score. And under it, it would just say member. But if I support them on Patreon, I could be a gold member or a silver member or a diamond member. So with that, to me, I'm like, there's no real rewards unless you're really into posting on a message board about phone games. And just a side note about message boards. I remember going to message boards like crazy. And I'm a member of some sites that have message boards, but it's 2017, and there's this thing called Reddit that's basically just a collection of every kind of message board you could imagine. I've been a first member on Rooster Teeth for a long time because I like watching live streams of the podcast, And I like watching all the extra stuff. To me, that's a good value for how little it costs. I never go to the message boards. I've been a member there for 5 years. I've posted 3 times in their message board. I've posted in the Rooster Teeth subreddit several times because that's where people go for message board stuff. The other example, the 5 guys with the podcast and the Let's Plays, their rewards, they've got $1 a month, get you an exclusive video every month. You can pay more, basically, for their normal podcast to get it early. You can pay more to have your question read on a Q&A video. You can pay a few $1,000s to be on one of their podcasts. That one, it's like, okay, those sound like good rewards, but let's say they have 10,000 supporters on Patreon. So that means 10,000 people have access to the exclusive video that comes out every month. So how many people actually watch that video? Everyone has access to that video. And if people are paying $1 and they're really, or even paying $100 or paying $50, they're getting out of it what they put into it, right? Like, why would you give someone $1 and then not watch the exclusive video? Of the 10,000, about 1/3 of the people that support them actually watch the video. What about those other 2/3 of the people? Why are they paying for this content and not even looking at it? Why is there that many people that pay to give a question for the Q&A video and they don't? When it comes time for them to record the Q&A video, they end up taking multiple questions from the same people because for some reason, all these people that pay the amount to get their question on the Q&A, they just don't submit anything. That leads me to believe there's only one reason why these people support these 5 guys. They like their content, and they're like, if people aren't giving them money, they won't be able to make that content anymore. While they make 6 figures a year, and while the person watching their video makes 25 grand a year, doesn't really get by very well. But they're like, well, I can spare, the $15 to give to this group because I want them to keep making videos. And if people don't give them money, they can't make videos. And I keep saying 6 figures a year because that's insane to me. I have friends that do pretty well for themselves. They did what I didn't do. They got out of high school, they went to college, and then they got this thing called a career. I don't know if you've heard about these. So I've got friends that are like in really good careers. They don't make 3 figures or 6 figures a year. I hope they make 3 figures a year. They don't make 6 figures a year after years of studying and years of maybe going through internships and finally getting to the job they really want. So why would I give money to people who already make $175,000 a year as a professor? Or why would I give money to these people that record a couple of podcasts so that they can have a nice place to live and eat out all the time? Why would I give money to a website and get nothing back? So to me, what all this comes down to is this thing called transparency. There should be a level of accountability. And obviously the way that they look at it is, well, it's up to the patrons to keep the Patreon creators in check, to, keep up to date with what they're doing and make sure that what they're doing is in line with what their Patreon says. The problem is there's no way Patreon couldn't force this professor to publicly put on his Patreon page, by the way, I make $175,000 a year without this, but feel free to give me $10 a month. The website couldn't, even though it's really obvious with the website, you just go to the website and you can see it, but the website couldn't start its Patreon page with, our website has ads, which we already make income from, but if you'd like to give us money, that's cool too. It's one of those things, you imagine if LucasArts was like, hey, if you love Star Wars, we're opening up a Patreon for Star Wars. So if you'd like to give money to Star Wars, here you go. How many people give money to Star Wars without any promise of anything back? Just, hey, Star Wars says they need money. I'm pretending Star Wars is a person. My good friend Star Wars wants to keep making Star Wars. I can spare the $5 a month to give to Star Wars. Obviously, Star Wars is way bigger than any of the things I just talked about. It just feels dishonest, and it feels like they're hiding something. I'm going to end with the biggest problem I have with Patreon, which is a separate thing from this, but not really. It's just a lack of transparency, and it's something that Patreon could very easily fix. That's why this is my biggest problem. It's a feature on Patreon that just confuses me. I don't understand why this is a feature. You have an option where you can just hide how much money you make, which hides all the values. So then you don't see how many people are supporting at every level. You don't see what the goal amount is or how much of it is reached. Like if you have a goal of $10,000, so you can do this, it'll just have the name and it'll say, it might say 30% reached. It'll tell you, well, you're pretty close. You're 90%. It's like, well, but you don't know what the total number is, and you don't know how much they're already getting. There was a channel recently that I stumbled upon. I found a video where they were talking about how they're going to start a Patreon, or like that they need Patreon money to continue doing what they're doing. I went over to their Patreon page, saw how much they were making, thought to myself, wow, that's a lot of money for what they're asking to do. And this individual has a full-time job, is a personality for a website, and for some reason is saying like, I need X amount of money, otherwise I can't make YouTube videos. And this person's YouTube videos are basically just vlog type videos, but they were asking for like $4,000 so that they could keep making vlogs, little 5 to 10 minute vlogs every once in a while. So I commented on the video, this doesn't make any sense. There's no way you need that much money to do this. And obviously I'm not asking you to like tell me all of your expenses. I just find it odd that you expect people to just go along with it and just go, yeah. That's fine. I like these videos. You say you need this much. I will give you that much. I made that comment. They replied and said, I'm not going to go into my financial information with you. I never asked for that amount of money. I just need extra money so I can keep doing this. I was like, you never asked for that amount of money. They hid all the money information. I can no longer see how much they want. I can no longer see how much they are getting. I can no longer tell how many people are supporting them at the different levels. I poked a hole in this person's idea and they just patched it. I feel like these other channels and the website, like if these people were maybe called out about these weird instances, these weird situations, they might try to be more transparent, or more likely they would just make that information private and go, no, never mind, we don't want to seem like we're bad people, so we'll just hide all that bad information. Not bad, but you know what I mean. This was just an idea for a video I had because it's just something that bothers me. I don't expect anything to come from this, especially with the size of my channel, but I just thought I had something to say. So thank you for watching.